retired for the night and cannot remember exactly what transpired before or what I ate or drank that might have contributed to this experience, as is popularly accepted by well-funded, peer-reviewed experts. I can only say that most nights I go to sleep with Genesis 40 verse 8 on my heart. I seemingly awoke to the reality of a dark-haired and short-bearded South American man, or somewhere tropic with dense jungles where Spanish-speaking influences seem to dominate. I was somewhere between 28 to 40 years old. I was still young, strong, and had my future ahead of me. I am just a simple man wanting to go somewhere new. For some reason I came to this very secluded small rural town deep in a wilderness somewhere. I wonder now if I was running from something or merely stopped there on the way to somewhere else. The only sign of internet connectivity was a cafe that had perhaps 1 or 2 computers with a very slow connection to the World Web. People there didn't have phones, or maybe only had ones that could call and text the classical way but unreliably. Mostly poor. I sat on the steps of said cafe. I was meaning to go inside to buy something to eat or drink. I think I was waiting for the bus or decided to just sit there until something happened. The town ended in a dead-end road though. I was upset or depressed about something. But that revelation escapes the person typing this story at this moment. I only knew that I felt like giving up and that I saw no worthwhile journey ahead of me that wasn't going to be arduous labor or a bleak existence in our modern world of too many people with better assets and chances than me. In this moment of reflection, an older gentleman approached me inquisitively with a smile as if he realized where I was at and decided to chat me up and get to know this new stranger visiting his hometown. The man was friendly in all mannerisms of speech and body language and beamed a warmth that I was not used to. He was keenly interested in me, but I kept up my defenses and barred his questions from my past and real personality. I did not hide my pain and displeasure at life though, because I was done hiding that. The man kept talking even when I sometimes stopped listening and just sat there. He had a lot of love, perhaps too much. He did not know of the greater cold and sadness in the busy world out there. At some point he started to wrap up the conversation. I think he decided that action would be more sufficient than words, so he helped me up and invited me on a walk. We walked through the limited number of small village streets, and I was introduced to some of the locals while seeing some of the humble sights. Women were shy or excited to speak to me, and men loved asking me questions or testing the firmness of my grip with a handshake. Tough, pleasant farming folk. These people were used to warm families and their own little slices of life that would seemingly never end, and made an effort to shine some of that light into me, but it didn't work. They did not know how deep and crippling my own fatalism had become. I humored them though. There was a chance at a free dinner, or perhaps there would be a temporary opportunity here just to float in their bubble for a while before finally deciding what I want. It was the sunset. That changed everything. The sun started going down, and the hues caused by the thick jungles blocking the retreating sun while still allowing the high beams to still softly bounce orange and pink light down from the clouds made me feel 20 years younger and like a little child as euphoria came out of nowhere from deep inside. The smell of smoke and unknown herbs reminded me of a homey family barbecue get-together. A nostalgia filled the air. I saw flowers and fruits and some things to drink being arranged in baskets, and then torches being unloaded and prepared for use. Something was happening, and my curiosity was swept up by the sudden change and shift of my heart. What was happening? The man then made his move by telling me with a great smile that he was happy he found me early because tonight was the start of an auspicious and rare ritual that doesn't even occur some years at all due to the available harvest from the villagers and sometimes also foreigners that come from far and wide alone or even little private groups. I was told that I'd be surprised at some of the famous names that have visited here, but the man proudly kept it secret. Was he crazy or kidding me now? Very spiritual people. He had enough time to get to know me and make me feel at home with some of the inviting locals during the day's activities, and it seemed like for once in many years I was surprised and excited at life. Excited about tonight, but why? He gave me a soft tug, but my feet wanted to follow and join this big family for whatever they were going to do anyway. There were no gangsters here or need for illicit and dangerous means for living. My guard wasn't being triggered like back home. These are simple folk, good and pleasantly religious. I was interested in their customs. Brand new or once lost feelings kept sweeping over me. We followed an unpaved dirt road that seemed as if it was going to an abandoned camping spot just outside of town and then passed through a short stretch of woods until the crowd finally emerged onto a greater and wider dirt path that seemed to boast some kind of upkeep, but not too much since there were no trees covering the sky over it or anything growing on the dirt path besides the rare pebble here and there laying frozen in time. It was tidy but still quite jungle, yet very surreal because I would not have thought there would be anything outside of the village at all besides tucked away farms that you reached by foot since the clear lack of vehicles generally and no vehicle accompanying us to where we are going. This place keeps surprising me. The old man kept sneaking glances and smiling, well pleased with himself at getting my spirits up and into the festive sway of the night. The people formed a long procession line of torch carriers to light the dark encroaching jungle night, beginning to banish the sunset hues, and everyone else doing their part carrying doodads or necessities for whatever is going to happen at our destination. Fright and excitement and even more childhood nostalgia. I wasn't my usual self anymore. I felt human again tonight and not like a brick in a cold city of some disconnected, urbanized neighborhood. We walked downhill a bit on this grand natural trail, and then there was a gradual upward long stretch that wasn't too inclined to ruin the joy of fresh jungle air. Unknown herbs and hearts full of community fire. As we got about 3/4 of the way up, I could see that the jungle canopy was now embracing together to cover what remained of the wide dirt road, also hugging it from the sides. As the road began to narrow into a path through the trees. Good thing we had those torches because the last bit of sunlight was being snuffed above us. Walking in the jungle like that with a procession made me feel as if I was passing through a dream. The warm familial chatter also died down as quiet became reverent, and I realized we were beginning to pass into the religious phase of their custom. Silently our convoy of souls moved step by step. Even the animals in the area were silent. What was this place and what was going on? Or are my senses just doing strange things because my emotions wanted to change? I don't know. Step by step. The burning herbs maybe had an effect. I could not revert back to being jaded. I did try. Finally we reached a clearing. I was a tourist and this was a treat. Very old stone structures, platforms, altars or random stone placements were everywhere. I looked at the old man and he was still smiling when he saw how impressed I was. I just stood there and took it all in as the women, children and men began setting up a festival that seemed to be worshipping a jungle goddess figure of some sort, or perhaps some obscure way of praying to the Virgin Mary. The reason for this thought is because the greatest feature of all was a dark, ornate Catholic church that seemed to resemble a downsized cathedral, yet still imposing and starkly out of place. It was a few hundred meters away from us on the other side of a stone bridge and on a little higher elevation. I didn't read or hear anything about a place like this before in my country. The rain had done its job on the stonework of the structure in the distance because it almost seemed all black with the limited light that was available. Perhaps a combination of mineral weathering and mosses growing into the stone, but I was no expert. It seemed as if this structure was crying black tears because it was so far from being known about to attract the worshippers that could fill it. The blackness of the weathering stone made this look like some Gothic forgotten edifice. Torches were lit there too, so it definitely had church staff. Yet I didn't see anyone joining us or peeking out. The festival began. I had no idea what was going on since I had no experience with religions, mythologies, or any time for superstitions as I grew up. There were drinks, some simple foods to enjoy, everything free to my relief. Yet the old man never left my side, almost always staring at me with a fatherly smile or grandfatherly affection. He definitely lost some children. Strange, I guess, but these weren't normal people. I didn't waste time studying all the other villagers. Maybe I'd like it here, so it was best to take as much of this in as I could. The old man must have misinterpreted the way I was studying the spectacle because he began breaking down what I was seeing, their way of worshipping, some history of the town, but it was all drowned out as I saw the young people dancing and perhaps a future wife between some of the beautiful women sneaking glances at me. This was heaven, closest I have ever seen. As close as you could get to heaven on this continent. The old man asked if I understood and I just nodded and agreed. Perhaps I shouldn't, I wanted to begin to genuinely care, but I was struggling to take in everything with my senses so enchanted. These people don't deserve any rudeness and indifference. None of that from the developed world of the outside belonged here. The back of my mind tugged at me to be on my guard, but I didn't see the need. Old habits. I danced. I ate. I did some of the prayers with the locals that gave me ritualistic meats, vegetables, more incenses, more drinks. I observed some of the elders do more advanced and intimidating things before the effigy and gladly joined whenever I was invited to touch or take or do something as to not be rude anymore. Whatever was happening, the lonely Gothic church and the Mary or goddess effigy was included in the ritual, as the church was often pointed to, spoken to, turned towards when praying, and brought up many times in the prayers. I made out that mothers were a big thing. These folks would probably have trouble with normal churches, but they seemed more invested and happy in their own practice, so it was good they were here so far away from dictators, authorities, and clever scheming systems. I hoped it would never end, and it didn't, because to my joy people were beginning to roll out mats, settling in, some children already tucked in, and not a single mosquito in sight, with the incenses and smoke having created a bubble of peaceful rest on this windless spiritual night, chasing away any bite on the body and care of the heart. There was something in those herbs, but I didn't complain. I closed my eyes, satisfied that tonight I truly lived as a man, a creature of God, able to feel again. So maybe he did exist? The jungle was also singing. The animals just beyond the barrier of incense and torches, the bugs and the night birds. A choir by creation. I went unconscious in a swim of beautiful thoughts. Getting married here with that girl, or perhaps that one, and having children of my own that I never would allow to leave my heart and new hearth. I would never allow them to leave. We slept there in that magical stillness of the soul in front of the mysterious dark chapel that looked over this loving gathering of worry-free villagers enjoying the nocturnal lullaby of natural cycles. As was expected, everyone was up early, packing, talking about last night, and some even began to head home earlier than that. Crazy energy in their bones. The old man was always with me, next to me, ready to answer questions, ready to entertain, ready to generate a laugh if my thoughts went to the past. Nobody came out of the church at all, even after everything last night. Strange. I think that only friendly folk would be here too. The thought quickly dissipated as I studied the path we had walked the previous night, now in the daylight, all the way back to the village. I couldn't help it. It was me tagging along with the old man now wherever he went. I wanted to stay, at least today. And so I stayed and did whatever the old man did, sharing his chores and learning a few tips and tricks around real work with your hands. We finished soon with my unspent vitality, and to my surprise went to go help out someone else that was still busy with their chores. Always something to drink. Always something to eat. The whole village was like my grandma's house, and everyone kept telling me I have already earned more than 3 days' worth of wages with everything I am doing for them, as to put my mind at ease for freeloading. Again we went with carts, torches, food, drinks. It was true, the festival seemed to be something that happens over a course of many days. Was this God finally showering me with good karma? I never wanted to leave. Please, oh please, may life be like this here forever. The incense, the hues, the sounds, the smells, the tastes, the faraway journeying thoughts, and the overstimulation of warmth and meaning as nature enraptured our senses as well in this forest of dreams. A deep, mournful moan traveled through the forest. I froze. Everyone turned to me in unison as if caught stealing candy. 100 eyes peering into mine. And then they burst into laughter and cheering loudly as I could barely hear another moan beyond their sudden clamor. Then the whole crowd chanted and cheered something repeatedly. The moan never sounded again, but still I stood there totally bewildered. The old man was still laughing loudly as he grabbed my shoulders and said, "Old mother." "Old mother?" He explained old mother as the crowd started resuming their chatter and carry duties. He didn't explain much beyond that, but he said old mother is a bit of a legendary animal. People think it is a bear or a forest spirit. Some years you never hear her. But like clockwork, when the festival happens, you can hear her. They couldn't believe a newcomer was able to witness their rural legend. Now as it was day 2, I was pretty sure they were playing a trick on me. There had to be a kid here with some kind of know-how and electrical devices to scare out of town nobodies like me with a made-up story. They all had a good laugh though, but they were also clearly shook up for a moment. That was some crazy audio skills for a villager prank, as I was sure the sound boomed through the entire area. After the little scare, the whole process resumed again on my second sunset here. Wide road procession. Dark jungle night trail. Picnic. And worship on another enthralling night, put to end with rainforest lullabies and dreams of my own children. My own children away from the world. I will have them here and will raise them here at home. Deep soothing dreams, the deepest I have ever slept. Early morning. And finally contact with the church. I woke slowly with two men talking over me, the old man and, to my surprise, it was the priest. Of all things, this man was a gringo. A pale European man in a neat robe of black and white with an impressive shaved head and not a single facial hair. I shuffled into an upright seated position and worried that I must have looked terrible, but was quickly put at ease by the apologetic and authoritative religious servant of the community. Slowly I was helped up, shook his rather cold hand and quickly composed myself. I swear the priest had the stare of a hunting snake, piercing into my soul. Strong aura but so presentable. The old man made sure to inject his warmth and some icebreakers as we chatted away on the stone bridge-like structure leading up to the church that must be useful when it floods. The three of us chatted and walked quite slowly all the way to the doors of the church in phases. I swear they were speaking in code sometimes. Harvests and Old Mother came up a lot, accompanied by hearty chuckles and odd jokes to throw me off. I got the feeling that the old man was more than just one of the townsfolk, but perhaps a leader and main liaison between the church and the village? Why haven't I seen the priest at the village yet? This was good though, because the gringo spoiled my fantasy a bit, and if he stayed here most of the time then the magic of the village would be more enjoyable. Maybe he avoided the ritual because of his clear Catholic position? On and on, closer and closer we moved to the church doors as we chatted, walked, stopped, chatted. In front of the door, the priest addressed me personally for a while, asking questions about if I needed any medical attention and telling him my blood type ahead of time just to be sure in case anything happened. He also asked about my mother's side and my father's side, my diet, my sexual past or the lack thereof in this case, which made him very satisfied. Great. Two virgins having a chat. Suddenly, and almost as if businesslike, he just simply cut off eye contact with me and sharply turned to the church, pushing through the doors and into the building. He heard something because while the doors were briefly opened I heard what sounded like the crying moan of a very fat cat faintly from inside. Priest was gone. Old man suddenly jumped in, making excuses for the priest leaving so suddenly because he has others to attend to inside the church. Perhaps. Maybe some patient was calling out to his trained hearing, as with all his questions he was probably the town physician and only nurse, I guess. I didn't see nuns. There was no mention of anyone besides him working in the church. Must be a busy man to keep the whole place himself and having to nurse the sick and old. Poor guy. I guess I can forgive him then. This village is allowed to have at least one weirdo. I privately thought to myself while trying to shake off the sound of the suffering animal or person inside. Return walk. Enamored. Enthralled. I was born again. Did I do that Jesus thing somewhere through all the rituals? I didn't know. I wasn't paying attention, but this growing feeling of being important began to expand. I didn't fade in. In contrast, the people grew interested in me exponentially. Girls began making sure I knew and remembered their name. Some were booking to dance with me and made sure I remember them with armbands made with flowers, small treats, cheek kiss greetings, cold drinks brought regularly during work. I began to feel bad as I was getting so much attention, but this just seemed to make the other men more and more thankful for some reason. There were more women than men in this village. Seeing a new man was some kind of relief. Hoping for new DNA just as I was hoping to land the perfect wife out of the hearty, beautiful and healthy selection here. Life was turning around. Carts loaded, torches, incense, cheerful, trek, forest, festival, worship, food, drinks, dances, dreams and another night filling my disappearing emptiness with meaning. The next morning was something else. These folks were getting too comfortable with me. I was jokingly yelled awake from far away. My name being called loudly from all the way down at the church where the old man and the priest must have been talking for some time now. Quickly I got up, dusted myself and jogged enthusiastically to meet the priest again. This time the priest was more at ease around me. Not sure what happened or what he learned or decided, but he was treating me similarly as to what the villagers were. We spoke quite a bit of how I experience everything this time, and I learned that the church was actually intimately connected to the local belief system and ceremonies. He couldn't stop telling me how lucky and fortunate I was for making my sacrifices. I told him sacrificing my time was nothing compared to what my heart had received. He liked me reprising his religious theme talk. The priest gently let the old man know that he was going to take care of me for a bit as a relay swap between them. We all chuckled and I was escorted into the church. The priest profusely apologized that I could not be shown the main worship halls as the center area of the church because it hasn't been kept up and embarrassingly full of storage as the size of the village had dwindled much according to needs. I didn't understand but didn't press because what confused me more was the lack of what I thought would be hospitalization of some kind and the sound of some village folk in nursing conditions. There was nothing. What was that fat moaning cat I thought I heard? I brought up the cat, but this just puzzled the priest and a frown came out of nowhere. I felt cringed out for making him look concerned so suddenly, and I changed the subject to what kind of duties he kept up with mostly. Scholarly work, he said. He also disclosed he is indeed quite the physician and quite skilled in gynecological health among other general practicing clinical roles before he became a priest and was stationed here. It was an odd combo, but what was even more odd was the strange seats with holes down the hallway against the walls on one side of what would be the wall of the inner church main assembly on the other side. They seemed like medieval stone toilets. What kind of church front waiting area has toilet seats? I asked about the holes. Something hit me. I don't know, but invasively my mind received instructions. The female must be seated, push with all her might, and release the child of her own volition and effort. Failure would be detrimental to both the mother and the child. This is worship and the sacrifice required. Flush only once and wait a moment, which should be 2 to 5 minutes. If the infant made any sound after release down below, it was important to flush a second time and nothing more beyond that, because after any second flush the female was deemed successful and permitted to leave the church grounds immediately and have their family attend to her. There is no need for her to ever return if she does not want to. Their compensation would arrive in the morning, and their service would never be forgotten on earth and in heaven. Forever will they be blessed here. Stone channel drop passages and tight canal systems with ancient water transport techniques made sure the infants arrived where needed, below. It stopped as quickly as it came, but it felt like a while. Again, that glaring hunting snake stare right into the essence of my soul. His eyes locked into mine. What was that? Are you okay? The priest asked. You seemed disturbed for a moment. He didn't have a smile that put me at ease, quite the opposite. He felt pleased with himself. I think they overdid those naughty herbs that make everyone so happy at night. The priest interjected my thoughts, beginning to grasp any logic regarding what felt like a sudden download. What the hell are those toilets? I didn't want to know, but I needed to know. No, the priest chuckled and put me at ease. This was just a very old way of collecting offerings, almost like a wishing well. The offerings are symbolically carried by water through these flushing handles and releases of water. You know how many hands exchange and touch coins, goods or paper money that eventually get weighed down with dirt and spiritual touches of greed? We have to make sure all sacrifices are clean. Think of it as baptizing the gifts to this outpost of God, as to let nothing corrupt enter. Coins don't float, I thought to myself. And how are you going to carry paper money with water? What a mess. What just happened to me? I rubbed my head and face. The priest held my shoulder with one hand and said that here they have very old ways, and he could see that the lonely small cathedral of the mothers was a large structure that brought back feelings of big buildings and past memories of the city or town I left behind. The priest embraced me. He also had the scent of the herbs or flowers on him. It put me at ease a little. So it seemed like people could sit here and wait for the service while also tossing in offerings before heading in for the sermon. I was stupid. This small village barely had children for the nightmare thought that crossed my psyche. Perhaps my past life did more damage than I'd thought. Here I was freaking out at a man that left it all behind. I began to try and show more interest in his faith as a way to make up for my outburst, but he quickly told me he could see what I was doing and there was no need for that. He opened the door for me and told me to hurry along because the old man was missing his new son. As we parted, he also let me know that he was going to join in tonight at the festival now that most of his chores were done and up to date. Back to the village, a fruitful and busy day, hearty work, stronger connections. A day nearing its end, carts loaded, torches, incense, cheerful, trek, forest, festival, worship, food, drinks, dances, and some interesting new additions to the rituals and prayers, with the priest joining in to do some very important main events. Here was peace. Here was joy. Here real dreams existed. I wanted a family now. My own children. God has given me a second chance. These are real people. I am human here. Sometimes I heard old mother off in the distance, sometimes in the direction of the church. Legendary creature or some kid playing around was not going to get rid of this newcomer. Old customs. Forgotten harmony with nature. What ancient cultures enjoyed perhaps and gave up for more convenient, restless and meaningless lives out there in cities. I was staying here. I made up my mind. I wouldn't even leave for a modern hospital if I got really sick. I'd die here. My parents and my friends didn't deserve who I changed into. Back to the village. A fruitful and busy day, hearty work, stronger connections. A day nearing its end, carts loaded, torches, incense, cheerful, trek, forest, festival, worship, food, drinks and dances. Here was peace. Here was joy. Dreams becoming reality. Days passed. Was this festival a week long? I didn't have a phone. Rarely someone wrote things down or referenced the official passage of time. It was a new day, the last day of the rituals and the festival. The old man grudgingly said that he didn't want me to leave after the party's finished. I put him at ease. He told me he lost so many sons. I didn't press how, maybe there was a war sometime or they longed for cities or a sickness passed through. I embraced the old man and we got to the day's activities. In the middle of the day, a group of girls and women stole me away from the man and he laughingly let me go. Suddenly I was surrounded by giggling young beautiful women and the older women with this strange longing and grateful expressions on their faces as I was ceremonially given perfumed water sponge baths alongside singing and fragrant cool herbal drinks. I began to sing along, which pleased all of them. Sometimes one of them began to cry. It was all so strange. Maybe they too thought I was some freeloader that would up and leave when the festival ends. I did all in my power to let them know I would find a place and function here. I was flirting more and more. Even the older ladies had a go at me, snapping at the younger ones. We had a blast, and before I knew it we had a day nearing its end, carts loaded, torches, incense, cheerful, trek, forest, festival, worship, food, drinks, dances, peace and overwhelming joy. I stank like some kind of saint with all that stuff they rubbed on me. I got so many hugs even from some of the men, as if the perfumes on me was like catnip to them. Tonight, however, I was almost as important as the centerpiece of the rituals, which was the goddess effigy that still didn't make any sense to me. Perhaps Old Mother was this goddess wandering the forest, scaring off bad spirits to keep the people happy. Now that I think about it, heck, I was happy. I never really got exposed to Mary worshipping denominational elements in church stuff. Maybe there was something more supernatural about it, even though I know other Christian people said the Bible teaches that no statues should be revered. More drinks, more dances, more prayers, more perfumed sponging of my arms, chest, hair, legs and feet. I had no idea what was going on. I was enjoying the pure ecstasy of meaning. The whole crowd became riled up, cheering. This must be the climax. Very loudly, the roaring groan of Old Mother came from behind us in the direction of the dark, monolithic Gothic edifice that they call their church. I was startled, but everyone laughed and cheered and howled and clapped their hands. Old Mother was not letting up. Was Old Mother going to appear? Did these people actually have some way of calling a god? Old Mother must be something more than a teenager's tech-savvy trick, or my face will be on the internet soon for some amazing elaborate prank. I was not going to get beat by my new family so easily. I joined in. I laughed. I cheered. I clapped my hands. I howled in delight. The women surrounded me in happy merriment. The men backed off a bit, even the old man that kept me company for days. All the men seemed to fall into the background of the crescendo, since this was all mostly about the divine feminine, I guess. But what was happening? Firmly, all the ladies gripped my arms, my legs, my shirt, my pants, and my shoulders. And off I went. They were lifting me up and carrying me down the stone bridge, slowly, reverently, with cheers of worship and delight. I couldn't see anything except the stars above as I savored every moment of this climax. They dropped me so hard that all the wind exited my core, and I gasped as my head also landed hard on the stone below. My back cracked a little. Something went wrong. I heard footsteps of the ladies scurrying hurriedly away from me toward the clearing where the picnics happened. The only sound now was the priest way at the back shouting things that I have never heard before, and I guess in a totally strange language. As I was laying there for a moment to just regain my normal breath and check if anything was broken, I was still looking upward at the stars, determined not to freak out at the prank even though the drop was not something I would be able to forgive very soon. That was very uncalled for. I was so numb. My skin was numb. My muscles are not reacting like they should. From the drop or all that stuff rubbed into me. I became a little worried, but little worry became big concern as it sounded like old mother had friends. The ground shook. Stomps? Footsteps? Too big to be feet. Sounded like an elephant or more than one. Also that strange fat cat sound. And Big Mother. Big Mothers. My God, what was coming? I used one arm to push up my still aching frame, but soon in one motion the rest of my body reacted to focus on one thing, and that was escape. I trusted too much. I ignored the supernatural in my upbringing too much. I should have known better after all the evil I've seen in the world before. Pale, grotesque, inhuman, obese, but yet marvelously mighty. My God, what were they? Towering and lumbering, almost clambering over each other. So large yet so fast. I couldn't make it. I wouldn't make it. No fight or flight. Just accept. I am a sacrifice. I was prepared for the old mothers. I'm sorry, my family, my friends, and my God. If only I had something from God to buffer against this final darkness. Disclaimer. If you do not know who I am and what I do, I am simply a theology graduate and past practitioner of Christian counseling that also relies on interpreting as many of my dreams as I can and keeping a public record of it. It was a tool for fighting back against increasingly severe paranormal attacks in which dream interpretation eventually worked to my favor in giving me the upper hand to escape danger. Because watered-down modern churches could not help me. Genesis 40 verse 8 turned out to be a channel to achieve the impossible, like in Joseph's situation too. Don't worship your dreams, but don't ignore them either. Added to this, I go through other manifestations of SEER capabilities which I calmly allow to play out within the absolute confines of inspired and verified scripture. The Bible. I follow some useful scholars that also help to frame my mind. Yet sometimes I experience a dream, a vision, a visitation, or an out-of-body experience that puzzles me more severely than others. This is one of them. An account concerning the mothers of the Nephilim, also known as the SIRENS. You were expecting to see only mermaids, satyrs, or harpies. Yes, that was my expectation too. I am used to grand visions showing me segments of an important whole as episodic flashes that focus on symbolism. This one, however, was smooth from beginning to finish, and the feeling was more of a focus on the story's construction and almost a reverent presentation of the subject matter. This is very different to what I am used to, so take everything you have received with salt, as I am not sure who the author of the information was or is. False information? Or a form of psychic whistleblower info leak given to me? I am unsure. It did not feel like my usual natural dreams that had God's signature Genesis 40 verse 8 feel to them. Nevertheless, this vision left some lasting implications. To summarize, the human women that give themselves over to corrupted angels for the purpose of copulating and producing hybrid offspring become sirens. I'm sure you are able to find deep dive videos or texts on this subject to verify it for yourself. But that is not my purpose in this story. There are some instances where scholars attribute the use of sirens in the Bible to mean desert screech owls or ostriches, but there are certain personifications and antediluvian connotations that you cannot dismiss when studying the context with the original written languages. How did or perhaps do the brides of fallen angels function and get to the point that they are able to produce offspring? Do they require some change to become able and up to the task? According to Genesis 6 and the Book of Enoch, the angels who mate with women produce giants. These angels were judged and bound, but later in the Bible we still read about giants hundreds and thousands of years later. Did new angels fall? Did some surviving giants use the magics of their parents to find a loophole in generating more of their kind? Did some giants survive the flood, or did new angels drop down to generate a new generation? Are the mothers of the Nephilim transformed before the act of producing hybrid kids or because of the act? Do intimate relations with either a holy or fallen angel have any transformative effect on the human body? When exactly do they qualify as a siren? Do human angel wives become siren spirit beings after dying only? The same way slain giants become demons according to the Book of Enoch? Yes, demons are not dead humans or angels that went to hell and came back. Demons are not fallen angels. Demons are the spirits of dead mutant giants that are born from mixing angel and human DNA, and to our horror, according to some scriptures, there might have been angels that mated with animals. But back to the mothers of the Nephilim that I believe this whole download was about. Again, I am asking you to use discernment, because the way this info came into my head was weird. Too smooth and scripted. I'm not a story author. I typed this whole thing that is about 8,290 words now simply from memory. I was given a downloaded story, and the moment those slobbering, hungry Nephilim mothers came down on the character I inhabited, I woke with real fear and real disturbing after effects that lasted for days. That man died or was used up in the most horrible ways I can imagine. Did he in that situation really exist? I don't know. I don't want to pry. That is how much this whole thing has shook me. The Nephilim mothers, so tall, grotesque, and obese. As was customary in Canaanite Baal worship, it was considered a method of remedying unwanted children but also receiving treasure and supernatural blessing when you gave up your child to especially a god called Moloch, which might be another name for the leader of the fallen angels that are chained in the abyss called Shemiyaza. These infants were tossed into a constructed effigy with flames that consumed the offering. What I saw was different. I don't know where to place it. I'm making this available to other eyes to study and see if it connects to anything. Perhaps this is all just a creepypasta. I noticed most of the Nephilim mother bodies resembled fattened babies, but with mutant features and sometimes multiple limbs, and some with semi-insectoid growths and claws, as if their hunger is sometimes sated with creepy crawlies or anything they can get their hands on, and it shows in their growth. This was a peculiar metabolic ability that could answer many puzzles regarding these beings, almost a scientific observation from the vision. Their bodies resembled what they ate. In this context, a steady supply of infants, whatever the jungle and their dungeon offered, and perhaps some animals. They added whatever their prey had to the own makeup of their bodies. For the scholars out there, I want you to now think about mermaids, centaurs and satyrs. I noticed these things were able to live longer with hibernation cycles, perhaps able to enter a near-death state to survive long natural disasters and wait it out. Nephilim creatures were said to have uncontrollable hunger, though. Perhaps only human bodies carry a certain energy that can truly fill their hunger, since they are part angel DNA and they need to fill up their dwindling magic, light, or soul energy from our stocks to sustain them after they became creatures cut off from God. To keep their super mana going, they need to steal our innocent mana, also known as lush, essence, or animating ether. What they lack from God is what we have. Vampiric abominations that drain our race to remain immortal and gain strengths, features and satisfaction. Sirens, especially in branched-out Abrahamic religious lore and common mythology, range from accounts about Lilith, women with goat legs, avian-featured harpies, wandering witches, and the mermaids that call sailors to their doom. I'm not sure why the sirens in the vision were kept the way they were. Perhaps they are as old as pre-flood times. Or just backup sirens kept for when an organization wants to feed them specific material to be able to birth specific beings. Why do I say this? I quote Christian supernaturalist researcher L.A. Marzulli in saying that Satan is outnumbered 2-1 because only a third of the angels rebelled with him. God still has the upper hand in numbers. We have stories about cattle mutilations, UFO or UAP abduction episodes, and vivid reports about semen and eggs harvested from people. Specific tissues are removed during cattle mutilations, like the sex organs, stomach region, and cheeks or tongues. My gut feeling is that there is a global shadow project of raising armies of hybrid beings that are powerful in life but also become useful demons in death. The offspring of heavenly angels mixing with earthly beings become wandering, powerful evil spirits. These things birthed from Nephilim devices and methods are Luciferian weapons, living or dead. I still don't know what to make of all of this, except that a great follow-up for this story is an episode that I helped edit for crossfiles.org podcast. In that episode, L.A. Marzulli goes into detail regarding the breeding processes of shadow governments and hidden magic societies. Check description for link. Being worshipped like the villagers did also seem to be vital for their existence, but this could be a very deep metaphysical and philosophical rabbit hole that you can ponder and think of yourself. I also want to throw a curveball by speculating that all these humanoid aliens witnessed on UFO/UAP experiences oddly resemble humans or certain animals on our planet, and sometimes combinations of various things native to our world. Reptilian draconians, Lyran felines, mantid mantis-type aliens too. These are all creature feature types here on Earth. Why would anything that look like basic creatures on Earth be out there far away in the galaxy? Creatures evolving on totally different planets should totally look different than anything we have on here, unless our Earth is the center of the universe or something. Or perhaps this vision of the mothers explain how all these Terran-based alien creatures on UFOs came to being. With today's technology, maybe the mothers have become redundant and the vision shows me how they are merely kept in case. Now I will show you a short story. Just image slides. They are part of a post I did on X, that used to be known as Twitter. Take a look and absorb what seems to be the history of our Earth just after the flood of Noah. I will provide the link for the post so you can go read the descriptions, but it is very concise and you will quickly get the idea by just looking at the pictures. This was also a vision I had that was long and detailed. Adding to the Bible is taboo. I work when I'm awake and when I'm asleep. If God is doing something worthwhile through me, then I hope scholars like Gary Wayne can perhaps glimpse a lead. According to the slides you saw, there were other things that survived the flood. They lived deeper in the earth. After humans spread a bit, these prehistoric mutants of that time came back to the surface and restarted the old evils by gradually exploiting human DNA and subjugating them to continue their war on God. Ali Siyadatan, a Christian filmmaker, was on Blurry Creatures podcast and stated something that I found very interesting since it connected to my other vision you just witnessed. He speculated and somewhat concludes that what if there was not just one Garden of Eden, but several? According to the language of Genesis, one can make the conclusion that when God said, "Let us make man in our image," means that there were perhaps many gods or members of his divine council that each had their garden where they raised sets of human beings. but that God had his own personal garden as well that he called Eden. The gods, or angels, rebelled and decided to mate and mutate the humans instead of raising them as a species, with God's garden being the last one to fall to temptation. Adam and Eve that had more special care from God because they were supposed to be the rulers of earth, something that Satan quickly undermined. And now we are as we are today. I propose that this vision of the mothers would answer a bunch of questions regarding the disclosure of aliens, the abuse of humanity, and perhaps strategies for countering what Satan is doing. Was it all just an intense dream? Go read Genesis chapter 40 verse 8 and you tell me. Did it really happen? Did I experience someone else's last days, just like the way Abel's blood called out from the ground when he was murdered by his brother? Or were facts couched into a narrated story to help my mind remember details more clearly and intimately, to the point where I was able to remember everything for months before sharing it now? I don't know. I'm not God. I don't speak for God, and I suggest you research something you found interesting in this video. Did I add to the pool of knowledge, or is something messing with me? This vision is old. I sat on it for a while to pray and think it through. Unfortunately, it is not sustainable to run the channel despite the quality of AI tools now suddenly available to me. My health circumstances do not allow for me to focus on channel content, and I am running a one-man show with extremely bad attacks hitting my family in Thailand here and back in South Africa. I would like to continue doing this, but require a support network because the attacks and isolation is very real. Thanks for following me as long as you have. But I am going to start a new job now and won't have as much time. Please pray that a door opens for me to keep doing this kind of thing that I love, and to expose darkness in video games and anime that is crossing serious lines in the sand and harming the innocence of millions that rely on digital entertainment as their favorite hobby or passion. You can catch me live streaming on X, Twitch, or maybe Kick soon too. Streams or projects I want to keep are also on YouTube, Rumble, and BitChute. Short bits and funnies I put on TikTok and Instagram. I can only afford live streaming to 2 platforms now, so any help you give would be awesome. From now on I will simply stream and sometimes upload the unedited streams to keep a kind of presence going. But I need a tribe that can hold my arms up in the battle. If you want to see more of my visions and teaching experiences like this, I do put them up on channel Exodus on Twitter or X, the moment it happens, as posts with text and illustrations. Daily you can see me find and share things like this, though in more condensed and less dramatic form. This video was a ton of work, and I save this format for what impacts me the most. God bless and have a good day. Stay prayerful. Pray for me, and please like, sub, and share this video so that knowledge of our world's underbelly is open to keep people awake to the evil that is coming upon the earth. Hopefully someone out there can add or explain what I saw and give any real world hits. Maranatha.